Hello and welcome once again. My name is Jimmy Omaset. So in this video I'm just doing it to highlight the full process that I undertook before I got registered as a nurse here in the United Kingdom. So whenever you guys ask me how I relocated to the UK as a nurse, I've always told you that yeah, it's a process. It's really a long process. It takes a lot of commitment and you know, a lot of commitment and resources too. And so when you guys also ask about which agency I used to relocate to the UK, I actually tell you that I did everything by myself. And it's actually true, I did everything by myself without getting any help from maybe those who we call agencies or wherever. And so I'm just doing this video to show you how I did everything from beginning to the end, and now I'm a fully registered nurse. And so I made the decision to relocate to the UK in 2021 in the beginning of the year. One of my resolutions was that I relocate to the UK as a nurse by the end of the year. And so after I tried to plan my timelines, I decided that I want to start the process in the month of August 2021. Then I relocate by the end of December 2021. Okay, that was my decision. So in the meantime, I just continued working as a nurse in Kenya, working on a few things that I was doing here and there. And so I was not in a hurry about relocating to the UK. So come August 2021, the first thing I did was of course applying for my passport. In the course of preparing myself, the number one that I did was to gather information about registration procedures, information about the requirements, information about the general living standards in the country where I wanted really to come, which is England, where I am right now, to get a lot of information. How do nurses work in the UK? What's the difference between how we practice in Kenya, in the United Kingdom, compared to other countries too, how things generally work. So I gathered a lot of information so that I make an informed decision. Okay, so if you're there also and you have these dreams of relocating, please take your time, gather information. I went to YouTube, I watched a lot of videos done by nurses like me, as I'm doing this one now, who are already here in the United Kingdom. So number one, gather a lot of information. If you're married, know how married people relocate their spouses so that you make an informed decision and you know what to do at what stage. Okay, so number one, gathering of information. So number two is passport application, which I did. As I said, I started mentioning that first. End of August, I went online to the eCitizen portal and I applied for my passport from there. Then I got an appointment to go and do my biometrics at the mid of September. So I went and did my biometrics. So document number one that I worked on was the passport, which I did in the month of August. So as I applied for my passport, I left it, I continued waiting for it to be ready as I was ready to do some other things. I realized that I can progress and register myself for my IELTS before I get my passport. I realized I don't need my passport to do my IELTS. So the next thing that I did is organizing myself for IELTS. What do I mean organizing? I realized IELTS is expensive. By that time we were paying 27,600. That one was, you know, I think almost 90%, almost 80. It was about 80% of what I was earning by that time, you know. So I said fine. I started saving slowly by slowly. So the end of October, I registered myself for IELTS. So I booked a date around October, and I always tell people, don't do your IELTS the way I did. You know, the way I did mine is a very wrong way, because I had never read anything about IELTS, like in terms of studying for the exam, but I booked for the exam and gave myself 13 days to prepare. Okay, so I booked this exam. When I have the date is when I now started preparing for the exam. So I gave myself 13 days. I started practicing by myself, reading, practicing, and I went to the exam room. I did the exam, and I of course got my result and I passed. So step number two is my IELTS, which I registered for my IELTS, practiced by myself. There's a lot of resources online, on YouTube, on Google. That is all that I needed. That is all that I used. After IELTS, it's NMC registration. So I went online to the Nursing and Midwifery Council. If you just go on Google and do the Nursing and Midwifery Council, So when I went there, I went to a section that is called eligibility for registration. I checked my eligibility for registration. So there is a series of questions which you will answer there, a no or a yes, a no or a yes. Then at the end of it, it gave me a short report which I downloaded that told me the document that I needed to have with me, but that before I apply for evaluation. So I keyed in my data, I downloaded that report, and it showed me that I needed that passport, I needed an English state IELTS which I had already, and some other things down there. So I leave a link here for you to go in there and check your eligibility to register as a nurse, and it will give you a report of what documents you need and what you need to do, and even the costs involved. So the first link that I leave is to take you directly the NMC portal for you to evaluate yourself, your readiness for registration. So once I did that, I took my report, of course, and I knew the first thing I need to do is NMC evaluation. I mean, to apply for NMC evaluation. So what did I do? I went to put together those documents which I needed. That included was it a police clearance, and the IELTS that I had already, and of course identity, which is a passport. I got my passport already. I got my passport, of course, in the month of December. Yeah. So and money, it costs also a significant amount of money. It's around 23,000 or more in Kenya shillings, that is if you're in Kenya. I've not gotten the currency some other for other countries. And so at the end of December, I went now to the NMC portal. I assembled all the documents they had wanted. I paid that fee, I entered my data correctly, and I applied for evaluation. So after applying, I waited to get feedback from them. So step number is three was applying for NMC evaluation, which I did. Step number 4 is getting verification by the Nursing Council of Kenya. So there is something here that I want to make it clear with you. After applying for the NMC, I didn't know that once I've done the application right away, they will respond. They will send a message right away to the Nursing Council of Kenya. So I waited for so long. I wasted 4 weeks waiting and waiting. So this, after waiting for so long, which initially I had been told that they're supposed to reach out in about 2 weeks, sorry. I decided to get a number and call NMC directly from Kenya, like calling NMC. When I called, these guys told me no, they sent a message to Kenya, should go to the Nursing Council of Kenya. When I went to the Nursing Council of Kenya, they told me they have not received an email or any message from the Nursing and Midwifery Council. So I called the Nursing and Midwifery Council again and requested them, please resend. By that time, I decided to go now physically to the Nursing Council of Kenya with all the documents and requirements that I need for verification, which includes a letter of recommendation, health check, of course, very important. Of course, it's done differently in other countries, and then police clearance and a fee. For the Nursing Council of Kenya, there is a fee they charged, Kenya shillings 12,000. So I had carried all this when I went physically to the office. So when I called this lady for NMC and asked her to resend it, she resent that message immediately. And so the verification was done right there and then when I'm at the Nursing Council of Kenya. And that's when the lady told me that link is sent immediately. You do what? NMC evaluation. So if you're here and you're here to do your NMC evaluation, I want to tell you that you can apply for it today and the next day go to the Nursing Council of Kenya to do your verification. So don't waste time anymore. The Nursing and Midwifery Council will not send a link to you to tell you that they have communicated with the Nursing Council of Kenya. So I want you to get that one like very well, okay? So once you have just applied to the NMC, looking at your portal is written requested, please just go right away to the Nursing Council of Kenya if you are in Kenya, that is. So after the verification was done, I went home. When I reached home 2 hours later, I got a message that I've been invited to do the CBT exam. So the next step was to do my CBT. So after verification by the Nursing Council of Kenya, I got an invitation from the Nursing and Midwifery Council for the UK to register myself for the CBT through the Person View website and then sit for it. So I went to the Person View website, registered myself, paid that amount of around 13,500, and I booked a date about 4 days later. So see, look at this. Assess yourself very well before you choose the date. So I chose the nearest date because I knew I was ready for it. I chose a date which was 4 days away, and I chose an exam center which was still in Nairobi, and I was living by that time in Nairobi, and so it wasn't a problem to me. So 4 days later I did the exam, and boom, you pass. Imagine I got the results 30 minutes after finishing the exam. Like, I sat for the exam for 3 hours, then I walked. By the time I finished the exam and walked out, took my documents, my property that I had left there, my bag and everything, the results was out. Then you were given your small, just something small indicating that you sat for the exam and your number and everything, and I went home with it. So I finished that step of CBT. So by the way, CBT is the easiest nursing exam I had ever done. Like, it is a very easy exam, you know. You don't really need to panic about it, but you need to prepare for it. So measure yourself very well where you live. You need to do a lot of practice. If you need many days to practice, please take as many days as you can. The end goal is that you pass. So don't do what any other person will do. If another person will choose to book tomorrow and the day is okay, just let everybody do the way they have measured themselves and seen that is good for them. Okay. So once after I passed my CBT, what I did is, the next step here was apply for NMC registration by the Nursing and Midwifery Council, where the first step they did your evaluation, then you've done your CBT. After the CBT, I paid for registration, so that the only thing that remains for me to do was the OSCE now. Okay, so I paid that amount, which is more than 24,000 Kenya shillings. I paid it. And so after paying for that, I have applied for registration. I was waiting to do the OSCE. Next step, CV. I knew I have to start applying for the jobs and everything. So I did my CV. It's not easy. That CV, you know, it gave me trouble. My head was on fire, you know, preparing for it. It took me many days, but finally I did it. So everybody has their own way of preparing their own CV. In one of the coming videos that I'm trying to prepare right now, I'll show you my CV, how I did it from step to step and everything, how I did it. Mine is really different. It's not similar to the ones that I've seen people do, and I'm not saying mine is the best or whatever, but I'll just share with you how I did mine. Just watch out for the coming videos, okay? I'm going to share it with you. However, continue doing your own research, continue trying to find out how the UK CV is done as you prepare yourself. So I prepared my CV. That was my other step. After passing my CBT and applying for registration, I prepared my CV to tailor it. You know, the way we do our CV in Kenya, you know, the way you just arrange everything, that is not the way these people want it in the United Kingdom. So do good research, tailor your CV very well, package yourself very well before you start applying, because if you don't, you see the CV represents you, you're not there. So ensure you package yourself very well, because so that your CV speaks when it goes before the employer. So the next thing after doing the CV is job application. This is a journey. Job application. Applying for a job in the UK is not easy. The competition is very high. You have passed your CV, you have passed your IELTS, and you have even experience as a nurse, but it's not really easy. It's not easy getting that job, really. I applied for more than 300 jobs, really. If I count them, they'll be up to 350. But I remember the day I got my first interview, I decided to count each and every single application I had done. I had done 258 applications. That is when I got my first invitation to do an interview. I did that interview at that hospital, and guess what? I didn't make it. God, they told me, I'm sorry, that my skills don't match the department, don't match the position, whatever that they were hiring. So that my experience was more of midwifery, but then they are hiring somebody for, I can't remember the name of that department. So I was not a good fit, so I didn't make it my first interview. Also, I continued applying. At the time I reached, I was applying. I was sending 10 applications daily. 10 applications daily. You know, it's not easy, but I was doing it. Yes, I was doing it by myself. Other people choose to apply for themselves. Other people choose to pay some other nursing agencies somewhere to apply for jobs for them. In Kenya, I think they charge 10,000 or 15 or 20. Is okay. If you have the money, pay them to do it for you. If you can do it by yourself, do it. So applying for a job here comes in two ways. One, you can apply through the NHS jobs. Make sure you go to the NHS jobs. So I went to the NHS jobs website, NHS jobs. I created an account there. I started looking for those jobs, just jobs that need band 5 nurses, and some of them that need overseas nurses. So when you go to filter, you can just make sure you're filtering those ones that want overseas nurses. And yeah, I applied for so many of them on the NHS jobs. But then another thing was I was applying directly to the hospitals through their websites, you know, I mean, through their official emails and their websites and so on. So part of what you can do still, apply for those jobs through the hospital websites. Go online, Google those hospitals in the UK, Google all of them, get their HR emails, apply, send your CV which you've packaged nicely, send your documents to them. Those care homes, send everywhere. Don't be selective, send your jobs everywhere. So finally my efforts bore fruits, you know. When I was, you know, oh God, I was like, God, am I even getting this opportunity? I got 2 job interviews following each other, and guess what? I got 2 jobs. I passed all of them at the same time. That I was spoiled for choice. I didn't know which hospital to choose, which one to choose. All of them were good and were paying good money. God. And so I got a job offer from one of the hospitals. After applying so many jobs, I got 2 job offers and I accepted one. So after accepting the job, the next thing was signing the contract. I signed it online when I was still in Kenya. After signing my job contract online, the next step was they sent me a certificate of sponsorship, a COS. That one is needed for you to go and apply your visa. So after I received my COS, the next step I did is I booked for my TB testing, which is done in Gigiri in Nairobi. So I got a date. I paid the money. So I paid about 15,800 or 15,000 and something. I can't remember the exact amount. So I went to Gigiri. I did that TB test. After that, I booked for the what is it called, for my visa. I had done already my visa application and I had booked. So I had my appointment at Gigiri for the TB certificate in the morning. Then I had booked my appointment for visa biometrics in that same afternoon. So once I got my certificate, I went straight to the TLS center for my biometrics and for the visa, and boom, I went there, paid the amount. I think I paid that 7,500 plus 4,000. I paid that 7,800, but then there was a mistake which was done in one of my documents, so I had to pay 4,000 to correct that mistake. Okay, there was a mistake when one of my documents was uploaded, and so something like that. So there is something I want to mention here first before I forget. Police clearance. By the time you apply for that visa, make sure you have a police clearance which is within 6 months. Okay, within 6 months. So I delayed to apply for my visa because I had to wait for a new police clearance, which took more than I had expected. So after I got my COS, I had to, wait. I had to get a new police clearance because the one that I had was 7 months old already. So make sure you get your police clearance really early enough and ensure it is, before you go for the visa, time it nicely so that when you go for the visa you have it's less than 6 months. Okay, yeah. So after the step of applying for my visa, I went and waited. It came after about 13 days. Yes, there was a lot. It was COVID time around that time, and there were delays and everything. So it took me around. I got after about 13 days. After getting now my visa, I had to wait 2 months in Kenya, before I came to the UK. Why did I have to wait 2 months? Because this hospital that I came in hires by that time was hiring in cohorts. Okay, so initially I was to come in that May cohort, but due to the delay that was caused by myself not having the police clearance to apply for the visa in time, I had to wait until the next cohort, which was July 2022, and that's why I had my visa, but I held it for 2 months before I came to the UK in the month of July 2022. Okay, yeah. So after getting my visa, what is the next step? I was sent, you know, I received my flight tickets from the UK, of course, HR department. I got my flight tickets, I booked everything. I started preparing myself now for relocation. I put together every other documents that I needed, every original document. I was preparing myself financially. You know, of course you need finances to relocate. You need pocket money. By the way, if you're relocating, give yourself pocket money. About, if you're coming from Kenya, if you can have around 75,000 is not bad really, but depending on where you're going, some places are cheap. Around 50k can manage you, is okay. You know, 50k, I don't know how much is it. It's about 300 pounds. I can't remember how much is it, but just have about 60-75 there. Yeah, it will survive you really. I'll do a different video to tell you how much I came with from Kenya and how I used it, and why I'm saying you should have at least 75,000 shillings. You need money when you come here, so make sure you've saved some good amount of money from back there. So I started preparing myself. Another thing I did is I went and resigned really at work. I gave my employer 1 month notice at work. So please, even if you're leaving Kenya and you're coming to the UK, make sure you live very well, resign very well, you know, and live in peace. You know, don't come out with, you know, when you're having a conflict with your boss or so on. Resign and live nicely. Okay, you don't know where you might need each other again. So I gave my boss 1 month notice, resigned. They did a party for me, and I am happy. I left very well. Okay, after resigning at work, I of course, now that I knew where I'm going, I researched a lot about the area that I was coming to, the churches. I even knew the church I'm coming, the roads, the buses, the transport. I was reading hospital policies, the nursing and midwifery council policies, so many things I was learning about the local area where I'm coming, the local council, everything, gathering information. So what you need also to do, gather information. On the 25th of July 2022, I flew from Kenya to England, of course through Qatar. It was my first time flying, of course. Yeah, international flight. Yeah, and I came to the United Kingdom that day, of course, and we were coming as a cohort. I met my friends, of course, in Manchester, and we came together in one bus, of course, to the current facility. I mean, to the place that we were going to stay for 3 months. The employer had given me and my friends 3 months accommodation. Okay, that is 12 weeks accommodation. So when you get a job in the UK, what happens is there is something called a relocation package. This one includes accommodation. You can be given 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. For me, I was given 3 months. Other people have been given a month. Others have been given 6 months. So it depends with your employer. Another thing is that they're supposed to sponsor your COS. That is your certificate of sponsorship, which you will use to apply your visa, and so on and so on. So for me, I was given accommodation for three months in a student village. Yeah, and so after coming here, we were brought straight to we were taken straight to the accommodation facility, and we were shown the rooms, and we were given food for that day, and some other guidance on how to where to start from. So we rested, and that was it. What was next is collecting the BRP. The BRP, biometric residence permit. I'm not carrying mine here. I think it's somewhere in my suitcase, but that is the thing I did first, because it's your identification. It's a very important document you need here. So the next morning, the first thing I did is I went to the posta and took my BRP. That one is like your identity card here. So I took my BRP. After that, I went to the bank and registered my bank account, and that's where I started from and came back. So I've been doing so many other things. From there, on the nursing registration part, remember I had just passed the CBT and gotten the job and came here. There is one more thing. I have not gotten by that time I had not gotten the full nursing registration. I needed to do the OSCE. So my employer had already booked the OSCE for me. So I had to come, relax, do the work in the ward, as of course as a band 3 by that time. I did that one for quite some time before I did the OSCE, somewhere before the end of the year, a few months later. So I did the OSCE at Leeds. My station was Leeds, and I passed by God's grace. And after that one, I got the full nursing registration. So I am now a UK registered nurse, okay, fully. You can only get that after passing your OSCE, which is a practical skill. You know, in Kenya we used to do those OSCEs, and so it's something similar. If you done those OSCE in Kenya, which you used to do in those skills lab, that is the same thing that we did here. So I did my OSCE and I passed. Now I'm a fully registered nurse. So what next? What next is that I'll just be doing a revalidation every revalidation and renewing my license. Revalidation is every 3 years, and every year you just renew your license. So I'm now a fully registered nurse, and that is what I did. I don't know if there is anything I've left out. If there is anything I've left out, please remind me in the comment section. I'll be ready to answer you anything and anything. There is some information which I've skipped. I've not given you anything because the video would have become so long. You're spending money in each and every single step here. You're spending money, so make sure you've enough amount of money. But you can do one thing at a time. Don't pressure yourself to do everything at a time, okay? One thing at a time works, okay? Plan yourself very well. Gather enough information. Ask questions. Come to my comment section. Ask a lot of questions. I'm ready to answer you. So I just want to wish you all the best as you continue preparing to come to the UK. I'm ready to answer your questions. So God bless you so much. Bye.